What's up, everybody? Welcome to the P.O. Vincent podcast here on the River's Edge Online Radio Network. I'm your host, Vincent Didiano, giving you my point of view on movies. And with me, of course, is once again the femme fatale, Jess.
Hello. Jess,
you and I, we've been on a long journey down this franchise, haven't we?
We have.
We started the Tremors franchise, of course, was the first one, starring Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward. And as we went further along, Michael Gross's character, Burt, took over.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of enjoyment out of these movies.
We really have.
Yeah. The last few, we're in the, what I call the second half of the Tremors era.
Yeah, and quite literally, because we do have an entirely different production team. So it's a whole new era.
Yeah. And we're going to talk... We're going to talk.
We'll discuss.
Yeah. So, if you haven't seen our last episode where we covered Tremors 5 Bloodlines, go check that out. Once again, you can find us on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcast. Libsyn is our hosting website, so if you want to check us out there, you can find links to everything else. And YouTube, you can also find us on YouTube. And for those of you who are watching us currently on YouTube, just real quick, want to apologize for our green screen's looking a little fritzy right now. It's a hot day in Pittsburgh, so the air conditioning is blowing pretty hard. That's what's screwing up the screen, so I apologize for that. But it's fucking hot, and we're gonna die if we didn't turn the AC on.
We don't want to melt, you guys. We don't.
But anyway, well, yeah. So it's time to get into what I thought was going to be the final film of this franchise review. But we got 7 coming out in a couple months. 2 or 3 months? Yeah. October, yeah. So, and we will cover that. Remind me, I've totally forgot. Have we mentioned what our next franchise is going to be?
I think we mentioned it once, maybe?
Well,
maybe we didn't. I think we discussed it. We finalized what we're going to do next.
Yeah. So we'll just announce it now, in case we didn't. I can't remember. I've been so busy this week. But we are heading into the Terminator franchise. The franchise that made Arnold Schwarzenegger a household name. Along with Conan the Barbarian, but I felt like Terminator launched him even higher.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so we will be tackling Terminator. We might take a week off between this episode and the Terminator franchise, just because we're at the point now we're almost out of data on our hosting website account. We might have to wait a week until we're back up to full. But we will be covering the Terminator franchise. I have the first one on DVD, and I've already ordered the second movie, which when I thought about it, I was like, how do I not own Terminator 2? Why? Because I was poor throughout most of my adulthood now. Now I can purchase movies.
Now we can afford all of the movies.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not rich now, trust me. I'm just like, that's how wealthy I am. I can afford DVDs now.
That's my wealth status. More accessible too.
Oh yeah. I get most of my DVDs. I know Blu-rays, whatever, but I get most of my DVDs out of the bargain bin at whatever random store I'm at. So
I'm not gonna lie, I've been buying movies on YouTube.
Yeah. They pop up on my feed all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen our previous installments, go check them out. We've covered Tremors 1 through 5, and now let's talk about the first one that doesn't have a number in its title. Ladies and gentlemen, Tremors, A Cold Day in Hell. Jess, give us the trivia download.
So this movie only came out in 2018, so it's only 2 years old. It was directed by Don Michael Paul, who I believe directed the 5th one. Production company on this was Universal Pictures, but it was distributed by Universal Pictures Home Entertainment, and this one was produced by Mike Elliott. It stars Michael Gross as Burt again. Jamie Kennedy comes back as Travis, and we get Jamie Lee Money as Valerie Mckee, which we'll get into that character a bit later.
Yes, we will.
I actually found it weird that actress is listed before Tanya Van Gran, who played Dr. Rita, Jamie Kennedy's love interest. And then we have a lot of other faces in this movie, but to be quite honest, I didn't remember any of their names when I was looking them up, so that's our main cast, you guys.
I think that's going to be a lot of us talking during this recording, is you saying something and just me going, yes.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Another fun fact that I learned when watching this film was that it was originally intended to be filmed in Bulgaria, but Bulgaria had like a severe blizzard and it was not safe to film there. So they filmed in South Africa again.
Yes, and we'll explain why that's an issue. If you haven't, I'm sure some of you are already stirring in your mind. If you know anything about even if you haven't seen, if you know about the film, you're already starting like, wait a second, how did they do that if the film is supposed to be there? But we'll get into that.
Well,
anyway,
oh boy.
Yeah. So the plot of the film is Burt is in trouble with the IRS.
IRS.
The IRS. He's about to lose the Chang's food market, which he now owns for some reason. But now there's been a graboid attack in the Canadian Arctic, and him and Travis, played by Jamie Kennedy, are going up there to take care of the graboid issue. But these graboids are, I was going to say different, but they're not. They're just they want you to think they're different. We'll get into why. They kind of hype these things up without much of a payoff, but we'll get into it. All right, so let's first talk about So let's talk about two things. One, opening scene is these three geological scientists, geologists, right? And they're digging down through the snow into a glacier or an ice cap, something like that.
Yeah.
And they're taking core samples to date it and understand geology, understand our world that it's made of. Okay. The next thing I'm going to say you would think is the important part, but it's not. Basically, somehow they wake up some graboids that look like the same as the African variety, which I'm starting to wonder if we can reuse the old style of graboid, or they were just tired because I don't now.
Maybe they didn't have the rights to the original art.
They could use old footage of them, but maybe they couldn't. I don't know, but it's just I thought they were going to be a little different because we're supposed to be in the snow. But anyway, that's not the important part. Okay, point is the three geologists get fucking eaten, and that's how it gets their other colleagues, and they call Burt. Anyway.
We get this real cheesy gore in this film, though, that right off the bat warned me that we were in for a bumpy ride. It's just, when a movie starts out like that, I think my exact words were, I think we reached Sharknado territory on this one. Just that level of effects.
Yeah, we see a severed arm just fall on the ground.
Fly across the screen.
Yeah, the graboid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I'll say this once again. I do kind of like. I mean, I always prefer the original design, but I do like the design of the new. I do like how they're bigger, how they leap out of the ground like a whale jumping out of the water.
Yeah.
And will come down. I do enjoy that. But here's what's important about this scene, at least from a review/critical standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, they're supposed to be in the Canadian Arctic. But as you're watching, and we both realized this just right off the bat in this one scene.
They're clearly in the desert.
Yeah,
and they've just changed the color.
Yeah, they altered the color, the filter of the video to make it look like it's snow, but it's clearly fucking sand. Because snow and sand move differently. When something interacts with them, they move in their own way. The snow just looks really fucking dusty. It doesn't look like fucking snow.
Yeah, it was very unrealistic. And honestly, the fact that it didn't, they only have this in a few scenes in the beginning. And then they corrected the color, still using blue hues, but not as obvious and oversaturated in blue. Throughout the whole movie to kind of symbolize that it's cold, but it really is not convincing at all.
Even though they say in the movie they're going through a heat wave, which may also lead to why the graboids are showing up in the area.
They thawed out or something.
Now, to be fair here, as you pointed out, that this movie is originally supposed to be in Bulgaria. I'm assuming they were picking an area of Bulgaria that's very snowy. So
yeah,
I understand. I understand they're put in a situation and they had to make do. Yeah. I get that. But as someone who's trying to do movie reviews here, I have to point out the fact that, yes, it does look blatantly like sand. It's very unconvincing. Kind of really takes me out of the fun. I know it's the Tremors franchise is like a cheesy, campy monster movie, and I'm fine with that, but it's just so glaringly, when snow looks like dust.
Honestly.
It's sand. It's fucking sand. Anyway, so we go to Burt, who, once again, is now the owner and operator of Chang's supermarket, which, remember, in the first movie was run by Walter Chang, the guy who named the Graboids. And then the third film, we see that it had been taken over by his niece, Jody, who was also the character was carried over into the Tremors franchise. But before we even get inside the store and get updated with Burt, I guess everybody else has moved out of perfection because all the other buildings are fucking gone.
It still says population of 14 on the sign, but I think that Burt just owns perfection now. Which I know that you mentioned that like they don't bring up El Blanco. Yeah. We don't get any mention of that. But at the same time,
no Nancy.
If El Blanco is around and we're just left to assume, maybe everyone else was just like, yeah, I don't want to live like this, and packed up and moved. And Burt was just like, all right, well, I think it's contained. I'll just sit here and make sure. I just, for some reason, I was thinking about it, and I was like, maybe you're meant to assume that that's canonical, and like, but I don't know. I'm probably just making excuses for it now and trying to make it work in my own head.
Yeah. I just, I don't know, because I mean, they do acknowledge some things from the third movie because we have Assblasters, right?
Yeah.
So we got that. It's just, I don't know, maybe El Blanco eventually died. I mean, who knows what the lifespan of a graboid is, considering they're usually killed before they last longer than a fucking week. Or now that you said that, wouldn't you just assume that he would become Shriekers and then Assblasters? Well, no, remember, El Blanco's albino. He can't metamorphosis.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he did just get old and die. Maybe maybe they can't sustain themselves.
I mean, the real world reason is they found some supermarket in the middle, some convenience store in the middle of nowhere. They painted Walter Chang's on there. Maybe they even built the thing. Maybe they built this little set. And that's why, you know.
Yeah, it's not the same set.
Once again, this movie's filmed in South Africa, so they couldn't. And it was just this one scene, so they're not going to build a whole town for this one little scene. I get that. But it just looks weird when it's now like Burt is now more isolated than ever if everybody's fucking gone. Like I said, you saw a population sign, but where the fuck is it? Where's Nancy? Where's and Jody left the store for a law firm?
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
That's what Travis says.
I mean, yeah, Travis shows up eventually after the IRS guy shows up and tells Burt, oh, you're going to lose your place because you haven't paid taxes in 27 years. Like, Burt, really? Fuck, I know you got government issues, man, but Christ. I even think Travis mentions it. That's like some Wesley Snipes shit. But anyway, they get a phone call from these Canadian geologists, and they say, we got graboids up here, and Burt's like, that can't be, you're up in the snow. And then the one, Valerie, who we won't say who Valerie has a very important place in the Tremors universe, apparently. We won't say who she is, but she's this young scientist, geologist, and she just literally exposits everything you need to know about Graboids and Assblasters.
Yeah, it's like a complete breakdown of what these creatures are, and I think I pointed out that because this is a completely different team working on these films, I feel like this just reinforces to the audience. For those who don't know, it tells you. Yeah. And for the rest of us, I think it just reinforces the fact that these aren't the same Tremor movies we've been watching. Because
they did this in Tremors 5 Bloodlines, where it was like the opening introduction for Burt's web show about being survivalists, where he goes over it. So at the beginning of both, and it's the same team as the last movie, correct?
Yeah. Same team as the last movie.
So why do they feel like, is this going to be Island Fury or Shrieker Island, whatever Shrieker Island.
I think it is Shrieker Island.
Yeah, on IMDb it's still called Island Fury. But is that how the beginning of each one of these films under this team's going to be, where they're going to have a character exposit everything you need? Like, if I understand we're in this new era of the Tremors franchise, but if you're watching Tremors movies and you don't know all this shit already, why are you fucking watching Tremors movies? You know, that's like starting, I don't know, that's like starting Lord of the Rings on Return of the King. It's like, you're missing a lot of shit here.
You're missing a lot.
Yeah. But anyway, so she exposits everything. She knows everything about Graboid. She's a Graboid enthusiast and Shriekers and Assblasters, and she's a big fan of Burt because like he's the world's greatest Graboid hunter. She's a huge fan. I'm like, cool. I'm starting to think that we'll get to who she is later. But I thought, oh my God, they're going to reveal that Burt has another kid and this is her. Like he not only fooled around with some hippie chick back like 40 years ago, but 15 years later, right before he met Heather, he like fooled around with somebody else before he like got with Heather.
Oh my God.
Blah 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 blah. Whatever. But no, she's not. I'm going to say that right now. But anyway, so anyway, Jamie Kennedy comes back. Him and Burt don't get along. Blah blah blah. They're different people, but they're father and son. They charter a plane over Canada into this Arctic region of Canada, and once again they're being taken to this place in. Last time it's a helicopter. This time it's like a airplane, and once again it's some old pilot who's done this all their life, and it's just like. You guys realize you're repeating plot points here, like, right? I mean, this one doesn't doesn't get along with Burt like the last guy did, and she doesn't get eaten only to be spitting up by a graboid later.
Oh,
Spoilers.
yeah, that's true.
But I'm noticing these similarities in the script, these events.
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities, and I think that that's gone throughout the franchise, but in this one particularly, they're a little more forced or obvious, like that, like the repeating of a character we kind of just saw, or not really developing other characters, which we'll get into.
Yeah. When they're up in the air, an Assblaster shows up, which I think is the highest altitude I've ever seen an Assblaster at. Like,
I haven't.
Why would an Assblaster go that fucking high up? All the heat signatures would be so fucking tiny, unless it flew up to get up to the plane. But once again,
it saw the heat signature all the way up there and was just like, I'm going for it.
So I'm thinking. I don't know what you were thinking, but I'm thinking, we're going to have this cool little scene where Assblaster gets on top of a plane, starts poking holes like in the windows or the top, or maybe rips the wing. No, he just flies right into the fucking prop and just gets...
Which I'm not quite sure if an airplane would just go right through an Assblaster. Those are pretty large fucking creatures.
Yeah, especially since, once again, this is just like the African variety, so it's a lot larger than the Assblasters we were introduced to in Tremors 3. I would imagine... the prop would still chop it up, but I don't think it would finally chopped it, it blended it.
Yeah, it was like they hit a bird.
Yeah.
And they did not hit a bird.
Yeah. I mean, the engine got damaged. They had the most lamest crash landing I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. At one point, the plane is crashing at such an altitude that when they landed safely, I was kind of just like, what the fuck? That's the most unrealistic thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. So they land, they meet some guy from DARPA who has 2 DARPA guards, and he's government, so Burt doesn't trust him, blah, 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 blah. Then they get to the HQ, they meet the scientist, what's her name again?
Rita.
Dr. Rita.
Dr. Rita.
They meet, I forget the other character's name. They meet Dr. Woman, they meet toy airplane guy, they meet Dr. Frazese, the coward character.
There's some Canadian guy. We'll just call him the Canadian.
The Canadian guy. And then there's one other character that makes it to the end of the film. I do not know what the fuck her name is.
I think her name's Dr. J.
Dr. J? Okay.
I think she's also a scientist.
Because there's a few superfluous characters.
Yeah.
Superfluous. There we go. Superfluous characters. That just they're not there for anything. Like, you can make the argument that Tremors had the original one, but they had a point. You had Nancy and her daughter. You have a mom and daughter, adds the tension factor. Like, oh my God, the little girl.
You learn a little bit about those characters, so you're more invested in them.
Yeah.
These were just people as props. Like, I don't know. They didn't really develop any more than 4 characters.
Yeah. Then you have their local their mechanic, Swackhammer. I don't know what the fuck kind of name is Swackhammer. His name is nickname was Whackhammer. I could get that Whackhammer, but is that his real fucking? I didn't even bother. Agent Doc. Wait, hold on. Where is he? Whackhammer. He's not even listed. Is the IMDb not even listed? No, his name is just Swackhammer. It's not like Bob. Bob. Hammer Swack, and they called him. His name was just fucking. Even IMDb is like, yeah, I don't fucking care. I don't fucking give a shit. IMDb's like, nice, Swackhammer. They don't even have a picture for this guy. I mean...
No, they don't?
No, I mean...
Oh, poor... What is it, Swackhammer?
It's just Swackhammer. His real name is Rob Van Vuren. Vuren? I'm probably mispronouncing that. I mean...
I'm trying to see what other movies this man has been in. I don't recognize.
He was in the Mandela movie starring Idris Elba, which makes sense because that was filmed in the South. I mean, most of the cast is South Africans.
That's
most of the cast,
true.
So we got to be aware of that as we're going. Something called The Devil's Whore in 2008.
Okay.
Just love the name of that movie.
I was gonna say I might add that to my list of things to watch.
And then some kids movie called Urbo: The Adventures of Pax Africa. So some kind of kids cartoon.
Okay.
All right. So that's the legacy of Swackhammer. I mean Rob Van Vuren. I hope I'm pronouncing that. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of the cast is South African. Many of them, some of them have their accents, or say like, "Oh, I'm from Sweden" or some shit like that. But some of them are trying to hide their accents and are doing a poor job. And like, I felt like Dr. Rita was kind of trying to hide her accent a little.
I think she was trying.
I couldn't tell whether she had an accent or she didn't have an accent at certain points. But Val, which we'll get to, Valerie, we'll get to Valerie. We'll get to her in a moment. She is from South Africa, and I thought she hit her accent pretty well. Considering compared to other people.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that that's where that actress was from.
So Valerie's name is Valerie Mckee. She is the daughter of Kevin Bacon's character Val and Rhonda from the first movie. She is the daughter. That's why she's so obsessed with Graboids and knows so much about them, because her father was her parents were part of the first Graboid incursion, as Burt would put it. And that's why she knows Burt. And apparently Val and Rhonda didn't make it. There's indications that they got divorced.
Yeah, there's a lot of indications that her dad ran off.
Yeah, he's a deadbeat. So yeah, I mean that's kind of part of the plot for like the failed second Tremors series that Kevin Bacon was going to be a part of. That he's back in perfection and he's kind of by himself. But I mean they weren't a part of that. I don't think this group had anything to do with that production. So yeah, that's kind of sad to know that they didn't get their happy ending after all. Like, I don't care if they have like a perfect marriage. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too much of a fanboy right now.
We all want the happy ending.
Yeah,
it's a movie. That's what they're for.
But let's talk about Valerie, who at one point in the movie just says, "Call me Val." Like, okay, we get what you're trying to do. Not only does she know everything about Tremors, not only does she know Burt, she's taken over from her mother as she's a geologist. She's very intelligent. She got from her father Val. She's really good with fucking guns, apparently. We see her basically kind of sniping some graboid tentacles at points in the movie. So she's smart, tough, knowledgeable, everything. She even has graboid skin boots that apparently Val made her. That comes up later in the movie, but I found that fucking...
I think...
Ew!
At one point you said that she really bordered into Mary Sue territory.
I do.
Yeah, no, she does.
And I know that sometimes that word can throw people, anger people, because there's been a lot of characters in like bigger budget movies in recent years that they've been thrown that word at. And
I said it.
I don't know.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
I guess, but Bella's beyond flawed. I don't know. She's like,
but no.
In the eyes of people, she's
her
so
purpose
bland.
in that series. It's
everybody loves
awful.
her. Yeah, the only time I guess she sucks in terms of in those movies is when she tries to kill herself because she was in such a healthy relationship with Edward. One of these days we'll fucking take on Twilight.
Oh God.
We got to. We do.
We'll do it for you guys. We will.
Yeah. Oh God.
Someone has to buy me a few beers for that, though.
Yeah.
Someone owes me.
Yeah. But anyway, what I want to talk about Valerie, who I'm going to call her Valerie. I'm not going to call her fucking Val. Is like there's nothing really interesting about her. That's why I mean she's she could qualify as a Mary Sue because she really doesn't have any flaws. Everybody seems to like her. Even Burt seems to warm up to her. Like later in the film, like she gives him a hug and he's like kind of, but he still accepts it. And once again, she's good with guns in the situation. She's smart. She knows everything about Graboids. She was the character that exposited the Graboid information at the beginning of the film. But beyond the fact that she's a legacy character, I guess you call her a legacy character. There's nothing really interesting about her.
Yeah, there's not really anything interesting. I waited for her character to do something.
Yeah.
Like become more relevant to the story.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like
she helps out at points, but
does.
it's not like anything special, anything that really reveals. She's just this young, enthusiastic person
who's capable and
there. Yeah, besides the fact that through her we learn stuff, we learn a little bit about what happened to Rhonda and Val after the first movie, but I don't know. She's just not. You would think if they're going to bring a character like that in, what they shouldn't have done is that they should have once again cut down a few of the characters. We got too many characters in this film.
Yeah, there's way too many
characters. And make her
film.
More the focus than Dr. Rita. Like, don't make her a love interest to Jamie Kennedy. The age gap there is too big.
Right.
But make it more like maybe she becomes part of the team. Now it's a trio. Now we got a woman. Because in the previous Tremors movies, there's usually a female character that joins in, but it's just mostly been. I mean, you had the veterinarian doctor from the last movie, but she was not really part of the J.B. Kennedy, Burt combo. I mean, right at the end when they were all working together to kill the final graboid. But if you're gonna bring in a character that is the child, I mean, we have like a Boruto scenario here, a Boruto. If you're into Naruto, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. But basically, we have the character, the next generation. Have this character become part of, become a team with Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah,
I keep calling him Jamie Kennedy. The character's name's Travis. Jamie Kennedy. What the fuck ever. Travis and Burt, and then maybe you carry her over into the next movie, and maybe she takes over the franchise at some point because Michael Gross ain't going to be around for fucking ever. I mean,
no, he's not.
Yeah, he's an old guy. As far as I know, he's not having any health issues, but I don't know. I just like to bring in a character that is the daughter of Val and Rhonda from the OG, and she's just boring. She's just there for information and to shoot guns. She's like an educated Terminator, but not as cool as a Terminator.
That's true. That's very true. Oh my God.
Anyway, okay, we'll move away from Valerie because we spent a lot of time on Valerie.
We did.
It was just so disappointing.
So where were we? So they get to headquarters.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, they do get to headquarters. Burt is convinced that the DARPA guys
Did you
are...
say DARPA?
Is that what it
DARPA.
is? DARPA. Wow. The DARPA.
We're going to call them DARPA now. The
DARPA guys.
DARPA.
So Burt's convinced that these guys are using that the graboids are there because the government is doing these experiments and trying to make them into bioweapons. And he gets this crazy idea in his head. And I think we have another graboid attack happen.
Yeah. So the DARPA guys go away. They go to some hot spring that's nearby, and they find out, and the one scientist with him is in the water taking water readings to see if the water's clean, and she steps on some graboid eggs and she gets eaten. Then later we go back to HQ, and they're getting ready for the graboid fight, and graboid shows up, and honestly, I'm getting really blurry at this point in the movie because it's just... So
there's a graboid attack at headquarters, and the graboid being there and the Assblaster being there...
Oh yeah, another Assblaster shows up. Yeah,
another Assblaster shows up. It's causing some sort of reaction from Burt that's not normal.
Oh yeah.
At first we thought that he was struggling with PTSD and having PTSD flashbacks from his previous encounters.
Yeah, because his vision gets weird, and he sees other graboids flashing in his head. Which, when the reason comes up for why he's having these attacks, doesn't make sense that he's having flashbacks.
Yeah, maybe? so they obviously get rid of it's so blurry because it's so bad. I'm not gonna lie. There are some the action scenes make no sense. Yeah. Why people are running when there's graboids around, running on the ground, moving on the ground.
Yeah. The cowardly character, Dr. Ferreze, he has a moment where he's running away because he's talking to some guard, and then he gets hit by Assblaster. And then later in the movie, he runs off again. It's dude, where the fuck do you think you're going?
That never should happen in this franchise based on everything we've learned about graboids.
And there's multiple moments. I'll say this and I'll let you continue. I just need to get on because I know I'll forget this. There's multiple points in this movie where people avoid the graboids, thankfully, because the graboids were moving in slow motion. There's very multiple.
Yeah.
There's an overuse of slow-mo in this fucking film, and it irritates the fuck out of me.
There's so many slow-mo montages. Yeah. It's you guys didn't have to, you could have made a 30-minute film.
Yeah. Anyway, back to you. I'll even push the mic away from me.
So Burt collapses, and they have to get him to the medical tent. It's kind of like a trailer. And they discover through some experiments on Burt that he has a parasitic life form living within him from the graboid that he was eaten by 10 years previous.
Mm-hmm.
So he's had this parasite, and it's been growing, and now he's in like the last stage of having a parasite, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it said the parasite creates a neurotoxin.
Yes.
Even though he's always grabbing his stomach in pain, he's having. But here's the thing: why is he having flashbacks? Like I understand, like he's having like his like the pain, or like my head is throbbing and I understand that. But is he just having flashbacks because he's Burt?
I don't know. I don't know if the flashbacks are supposed to just tie back to the toxin coming from a graboid.
I think that's what they're thinking.
I think that's what the assumption should be, but it
why?
kind of makes no sense.
You know what would have been funny? They bring back Reba McEntire, who played Heather, his wife, and he just has a flashback to the day she left and took his favorite gun. That would have been cool.
Oh, the gun comes up in this film, by the way.
Oh yeah, the HK-91 that Travis has, and he presented to Burt in the previous film that he still has now. Travis has it back. Apparently, it is not just any HK-91. It's the HK-91 that Heather took in the divorce from Burt, and he just reveals it later in the movie for no reason. It literally adds into nothing. It's just so they can reference stuff.
Okay, so I think it does have some relevance.
Okay, all right.
Jamie Kennedy's character has been trying to get close to Burt because that's his father, and he knows that his father's not always going to be around. And I think it's brought up to reinforce that theme throughout this movie, that Travis wants to work with his father to carry on his legacy and also to get to know him. Like it's and you know, as Burt, because Burt's dying in this film. As Burt is dying, I feel like Travis tries harder and harder to get through to Burt, because Burt. So in order to cure Burt, we have to catch a graboid, which is like impossible. We've gone through this time and time again. Yeah. You're not catching one. Anyway, so the graboids obviously show up. The DARPA guy shows up first. Or no, I'm sorry, the graboid shows up first. This is so illogical. The graboid does show up first. It starts shaking the trailer that they're in.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh shit, graboids. Doesn't it like rip a girl out of the window before the DARPA guy shows up?
Yeah, it rips the doctor that explains the virus or bacteria that's killing Burt, and then it just
disappears.
And then
I think at one point you said, so what? These creatures eat and then run away for like 5 miles and eat their stuff and then come back? Because within the gap of this doctor being ripped out of a window, we then have the DARPA guy show up. And I remember saying, oh shit, they're going to make Burt work with the government, and kind of. Like the only relevancy that working with the DARPA guy has is Travis weasels a deal that Burt doesn't have to pay any taxes ever.
Yeah.
So like he can keep everything in perfection. Cool beans. But when I said, oh, maybe Burt has to work with the government, I thought the government's going to come in and provide like a bunch of, like they'll actually team up. But that's not really what happened. They kind of have to protect the DARPA guy because his sidekicks both die. But yeah, the DARPA guy comes running in. That never would have happened. The next thing that would have happened was the graboid that ate that woman would have immediately grabbed these dudes on their way over. Like, that's just...
just like in the last film, there's a lot of walking around moments where it's like the graboid should be right on top of them. So if this bigger, more muscular-looking graboid, which, by the way, we're not going to get into because I don't even know how to explain it. They went into this long explanation of how there are graboids in an Arctic area, and it all amounted to these are the original graboids. It's warm up there. It's a combination. It's warm up there, and these are possibly the original graboid species. That's why they're so far up that the species migrated down, but there's a few of them that stayed up in that part back when it's Pangea, I guess, and they got frozen. And there's more to it. It's so confusing.
It's very baffling.
It's overly complicated. Just say
like you could crash a 16-wheeler in the holes of the plot here.
Anyway, anyway, Burt at one point gets so sick because there's just blah, 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 all over the place.
There's these weird action scenes where they're supposed to be fighting graboids or assblasters that just kind of make no sense because the characters do things that would have gotten them eaten immediately.
Yeah.
So the fact that many of them survive is just baffling. But yeah, at one point Burt gets so sick that he collapses again.
Yeah. And then eventually he cannot fight. He wants to fight, but he can't. Jamie Kennedy said, no, you're going to stay here in the hospital bed, and we're going to take care of this. So they come up with, we're skipping like a couple of things, but it's so stupid.
They kill another Graboid.
Yeah.
So we're down to one. There's
Yeah.
one Graboid left. We have to catch it. And Travis comes up with this weird plan.
They are going to lure the Graboid out of the ground, and when it does, the airplane, which has now been fixed, will fly by with a rope and giant like hook, the kind of hook that you would use for like carry big loads on a crane.
Mm-hmm.
Come by, hook the Graboid as it's jumping through midair, then pull the Graboid over into a large cargo container that they have remodeled slightly to pin the Graboid once it's inside.
They put these metal bars inside to pin it from moving, and it has like a grate on the other.
Yeah, it has
so
a grate.
its beak gets stuck.
Yeah, so yeah,
grate.
exactly. So it's like a reverse muzzle. Instead, like they've created a reverse muzzle instead of keeping the beak closed. It's holding the Graboid's beak open, which that is some incredible timing that the plane happened to fly by just when it you think they would have had a couple of like missteps where it's like I gotta circle back around.
We did forget one thing.
What did we forget?
We forgot when they kill the previous Graboid. What is that man's name? The very odd name.
Swackhammer?
Swackhammer, thank you. Swackhammer is asked to build a giant underground electrical fence.
Yes, because the hangar for the plane has metal beams that go deep into the ground, so they electrify the beams, and you literally see like an electricity lightning effect go through the beams, and it's just it's so bad.
And the first time they do it just to keep the Graboid away, and then the second time they do it, it just obliterates this Graboid.
Yeah,
and
it explodes twice.
It explodes twice, and at first we were just like, oh my God, did they just kill both of them? Like, Burt. What the fuck? But no, there's still one alive. So yeah.
Right, because there's a point where we were both looking at each other like, I was like, wait, have they established how many Graboids there are?
Yeah, they never established how many there are.
And then like 5 minutes after we said that, it was as if who was ever writing the script was like, oh wait, I should probably mention how many there are. And then, because literally after we said that to each other, it was like 5 minutes later, it's like, yeah, we got 2 left. And then that's when the last one got electrocuted. And then they capture the last one with the plane hook container combo.
We have this scene where Travis has to crawl inside. First, they have to take down the tentacles.
Yeah.
So that he can safely get inside this thing to, I don't know, get this sample.
And it's so dumb because people start taking turns with various weapons.
Yeah, they start taking turns with like an axe and
a machete
and
some kind of tribal club weapon.
Yeah. It's bizarre. And then like Burt, just to prove that he's Burt, pops up and like shoots the last one and then like just collapses and you think he's dead.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why can't just stay in the fucking bed, my dude?
Yeah.
Like, just wait a minute.
Yeah. I wouldn't have had Burt do if I was writing the script. I know you shouldn't do this when you review movies. You do it. I would have had him come out. I just would have let Jamie Kennedy handle it so Jamie Kennedy can completely prove himself. But anyway, so yeah.
It is quintessential Burt, though.
Yeah.
I will give them that. So yeah, Travis crawls inside this Graboid with a giant needle.
Yeah, and to extract a fluid sac that contains the antivirus fluid.
Well, they need the virus from a living Graboid.
Yeah. They established
antibody.
You can't kill it and then extract it because apparently it goes bad real quick. Mm-hmm. So it literally has this sac with some kind of goo liquid, and he extracts it with a giant needle.
It's gross.
Yeah. And you're like, oh wow, he's crawling inside. This is the first time in a while since I want to say the 4th movie, because I don't think they had any animatronics or puppetry in the 5th film.
Oh yeah.
They create this big Graboid mouth. It's like this actual physical, like practical effect Graboid mouth to crawl into. And it is so bad because
it's really bad.
It's barely moving. Like the Graboid should be like fidgeting around and shit. And it's just like you see some movement from its mandibles.
It's like one of those things that should be in Noah's Ark at Kennywood. For those of you who live in Pittsburgh, you should know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I can't think of an equivalency for those of you who don't. It's a very bad animatronic is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because
it's very poorly done.
Yeah, because it's like, once again, it has these bars to keep its the bar is strategically placed to keep it from closing its mouth, but it's not even like look like it's biting down on the bars hard. You think it's like, arr.
It's just stuck, and then we get like these little movements.
Yeah, and it's bad. Man.
It's bad. They did.
So
bad.
anyway, Jamie Kennedy emerges. They make an antidote for Burt.
Mm-hmm.
They save Burt's life. At first, they do a fake out like,
I'm so sorry, Travis.
Yeah,
He's not gonna make it.
Yeah.
And then Travis takes the gun and starts like pushing shit off of stuff with it. Like he knocks a bunch of papers off of a bedside table with the gun. And you just hear behind him Burt go like, "That's not how you treat an HK-91 or whatever it is." And it's just like, okay.
So anyway, everyone's back to full health. Whoever lived. The DARPA guy is going to take the Graboid into government custody and make it a bioweapon, which if they would acknowledge the events of the TV series, this would have a little bit more meaning because there was a bioweapons lab that was eventually revealed in the TV series. But it's just them going like, oh, the government's shit.
Like, oh yeah, Burt, that was such a good idea.
Yeah.
And so Burt explodes the Graboid.
Yeah, the one scientist who has like an airplane, a little toy not a toy airplane, the kind of big kind, the expensive kind. Sit down, children. Before we had drones, we had little airplanes you could fly around. And this guy has one. Why he doesn't have a drone, I'm not sure. I'm not saying there aren't people who still don't have those like expensive radio-controlled mini planes. I know you're still out there, but drones is a little more relevant. They strap a bomb to it, fly it into the Graboid, it explodes,
Boom.
goos all over the DARPA guys.
We get this real gross, I think it was just gross and unnecessary scene where Jamie Kennedy kisses Rita, and he like gives her a kiss on the cheek, and then walks over to Burt, and Burt's just like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, you got to shoot her. Or he uses gun terminology.
He uses gun terminology.
Everything is in gun
I
form.
would never show my hand unless I intended to use it or something.
I'd like to see Burt on an episode of like Cake Boss. A gun cake.
Gun cake. I don't know. This is delicious, but the model was wrong.
Yeah, the HK-91 does not have a sight shaped like this. The sight is shaped like this. Like it was both.
Like cake was terrible.
Yeah. Anyway, so he has Jamie. For the first time, he gives him like real fatherly advice. It's like, no, you go back over there and you like kiss her. So they go back where they have like a simple like mouth to mouth. Like we're like into each other kiss. And they say, okay, I'll see you in 6 months. We'll go on a date, blah, blah, blah. And they say goodbye to Valerie, who once again is fucking useless character despite how important she should be to the franchise.
I don't know. Are we going to see her in the next one? Then maybe we can forgive it. But I have a really strong feeling that we don't fucking see her.
Unless they haven't updated the cast list on IMDb yet. I checked. I don't think she's in the next one.
That's exactly what I was about to try to pull
I'll take another look. Let me take a look at her IMDb profile here. I don't think she's in it. No, she's not. And neither is Jamie Kennedy in the next one. I checked that earlier today.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Jamie Kennedy is not in the next Tremors film, so I guess they're dropping... Oh, wait, that's the wrong... Where's the Valerie character? I clicked on the wrong one. But yeah, Jamie Kennedy is not in the next Tremors film, so his character... I guess they're dropping that character. And yes, the actress who plays Valerie, Jamie Lee Money, is not in the next...
So we just get Burt again. I wonder.
Yeah, it's a whole new... Yeah, but we do get John Heater, a.k.a. Napoleon Dynamite. And...
Oh, no.
Yeah, John Heater is going to be in it. And one actress, I forget her name, she's was in Orange is the New Black. What's her name? It's Jackie Cruz. So, yeah, Jackie Cruz from Orange is the New Black and John Heater of Napoleon Dynamite fame still are going to be in there. As well as, I've seen this character, actor Richard Blake, who's one of those character actors, like if you see his face, he was the Night King in Game of Thrones.
Oh,
he was the guy under the makeup.
Okay, cool.
But he's been in a bunch of other stuff. He's one of those guys that always gets cast as like a mean character. He's got one of the mean-looking faces.
Very nice. So yeah, we will have to come back in a few months and review the next one. And see. I know we have like a basic plot that was shot out there. It's very Jurassic Park-esque.
Well, yeah, because it's a resort where they have graboids, so hunters from around the world can pay to come and hunt graboids.
Yeah, they want to make a trophy hunting.
Yeah, which I mean, good luck, motherfucker.
Yeah, they're gonna run into problems pretty damn.
You know, it'd be really cool if like it was like they had both the North American breed and the African breed. Like we see.
Oh, we get to see both in one film.
That would be cool. I'd be down for that. But if it's the same team, then they're probably going to stick with the design they have.
Yeah, it's probably not.
But
we will see though.
But anyway, a few other things to cover about this. I want to talk about Burt for a second. Burt is beyond Bertie in this film. He's so hardcore. I don't trust you. Hardcore. Fuck the government. And hardcore. He busted out like 24 one-liners in this film, saying like, "I'm healthier than a butcher's dog." And he keeps, it's like too much, Burt. It's too much. Even Burt wasn't that great in this movie.
You can tell that someone is writing a character that someone else created and trying to continue that character. Like, it's just very evident that we don't have the same writing team. And, you know, sometimes it's not always like this. Sometimes there are franchises where you have different teams working on something later on, and they do a phenomenal job. This just isn't one of them, unfortunately.
Yeah. I would have to say that, I mean, I don't know about you. I would have to say this is the one I enjoyed the least.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is my least favorite.
Yeah. I mean, we had fun. We
did have fun.
Because this is actually all the previous ones we watched separately. Like, you watched a lot of them with your boyfriend. Mm-hmm. I watched one with my girlfriend. I watched and I watched the rest by myself. But we had fun watching it together because we had each other to lean on emotionally. But
honestly, yeah, I had a few beers. You needed it. And I said this morning, you know, I tried to take a step back as well and look at this through the lens of maybe the lens of it being a really bad movie. Is it good as a bad movie? Yeah. If you are a fan of gratuitously bad films, if you really love Sharknado and Sand Shark, and I can't even believe that's a movie, but it is. You know, if you are really into those B sci-fi thrillers that are on television, you'll probably love this because it's kind of fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But if you're coming from it as a fan of the Tremors franchise, like from the beginning, this is kind of hard to take.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I can get behind a movie that's so bad it's 22.
Yeah.
I think I've said this on the show before you joined on. The Halle Berry Catwoman movie, horrible film. When I watched it the first time, laughed my fucking ass off.
Absolutely.
It's bad. This one, I don't know if I'd watched it alone. I don't know if I would had that bad enjoyment. Once again, if you're gonna watch it, I mean, I recommend watching it with a friend or a six-pack. That's what or both.
Get ready to just make fun of it.
Yeah.
Because it's a fun ride if you do it that way.
Yeah. I hope the next one is better. I'm not getting my hopes up.
Yeah, I'm not going to get my hopes up, but I am going to see it.
Yeah.
I wonder. Continue this.
I wonder how they're going to explain Jamie Kennedy no longer being with Burt.
Maybe he's with Rita.
Maybe it's Rita. Maybe that's it. Maybe they're just, you know, or maybe him and Burt just had one too many arguments because their whole relationship is like, you know, like, Burt, you're bothering me, Jamie Kennedy. Chill out.
Yeah,
you're bothering me. Are there hot chicks? You're bothering me.
Is she
Chill
hot?
out. Yeah.
Like, you forgot to ask if she was hot.
Yeah. Which, by the way, not wrong. A lot of hot female scientists in this movie. A lot of good-looking women. And I know that's not really nothing to do, but I don't think there was an unattractive woman in this. Well, except the airplane pilot. She's an older woman, so I wasn't exactly getting a smile from her.
What has she been in? Also, while you have the IMDb page pulled up, I feel like I've seen her in something.
Oh wait, that's not her. I'm on another.
But I can't remember.
I'm on. Where is it? Let me bring it up. Give me 1 second. All right, Tremors.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, man.
How dare you?
I was just curious because sometimes you see character actors in a lot of things.
Let's see. What was her? I'm trying to look her up.
I can just look it up later.
Do you remember the character's name?
No. This is the problem that we ran into with this film, though. Like a lot of the B characters, you just don't know who the fuck they are.
Yeah, Travis.
I'll figure it out later.
Not Dutch. Mac, Adrian Pierce probably was her. I don't know. Fuck
I'll
it.
figure it out.
We'll figure it out later. All right, so You want to do a quick, like, I forgot to bring this up because even I forgot to, but you want to do like a quick ranking of the movies?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, let's try to break it down.
All right. So, all right, I think we both first movie best.
Yeah, the first movie is definitely the best.
What would you put in number two spot? For me, I think it's pretty simple for me personally. I think I'm just going to go in order of the movies. I think they just progressively got worse.
I think the only thing I would change is I did like 4 more than 3, but
okay.
I figured
again,
you
were going to say that.
Yeah, I did prefer 4 to 3, but I am a fan of like sci-fi western.
Yeah, the gimmick of 4 is cool. It's a cool gimmick.
So I think I'm a little biased, and I'll admit that.
Yeah.
So that's the only change I would make. But other than that, I think you can honestly go down the line in this franchise, and they kind of just get a little progressively worse.
Yeah.
And 6 is.
I think also probably what hurt this movie. Now, since this movie is made in South Africa, as we've established multiple times, I'm guessing most of the writers and crew are maybe also from. We've got John Wepley's one of the writers. Okay, his IMDb page is a lot of shows I've never heard of. So these are just low budget guys. Maybe, in fact, if some of them are from South Africa, I feel like they may have written like Burt as an American, the way they think Americans are like.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's very true.
We'd have to do more research to confirm that. That's just a theory. I'm not calling it confirmed yet, but yeah, what can I say? For me, yeah, it's down the line. You start with the first movie, and I think when, like, you liked 4 more than I did.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't hate 4. I just was like, most of the characters I just found bland, and the pacing was bad in the fourth one. But the gimmick of cowboys versus graboids is a cool gimmick.
Yeah. Cowboys versus aliens or cowboys versus anything weird is always pretty solid.
And props to the props team, because they used very little CGI in that film. They used a lot of animatronic and puppet work with like on little miniature sets, and they would have a puppet graboid. So I definitely will give 4 credit on that. Where by the time we get to 5, it's 10 years later. CGI is improved greatly, and there of course they're using CGI.
But I feel like that's another reason why 6 was so hard for me to take. The CGI in 5 really wasn't that bad, and then the CGI in this one was just god awful.
Yeah, it's because, I brought this up in 5. I think it's because there's a lot of shots in 5 that are at night, especially with the Assblaster, and darker scenes will cover stuff up. For instance, like I'll find this out when the Snyder Cut comes out, but the Justice League movie, the theatrical cut we got, a lot of special effects didn't look good, especially the villain, Steppenwolf. But they brightened up the picture for the theatrical cut because Joss Whedon took over. I suspect that in the Snyder Cut, as much as I do not like to give Zack Snyder a lot of credit, he makes his movies based on that he knows it will have a darker visual tone to it. So I'm guessing Steppenwolf, it wasn't supposed to be Steppenwolf, it was supposed to be Darkseid. I don't fucking care. Anyway, I'm guessing the special effects would have looked better in the Snyder Cut just because everything would have been darker and not brighter, because it's definitely brighter. They brightened everything. Hell, there's a scene in the movie that in the trailer it happens at night, but in the theatrical cut it's happening at like dawn. And I'm like,
that's bizarre.
But anyway,
that's weird.
Yeah. So 5 worked a little better because you had a lot of shots at night to cover up certain things.
That's true. Because they hunt at night. So.
Yeah, they hunt at night. The Assblasters, the Graboid looked fine enough, but yeah. So we're at the end of this. We're at the end of this franchise now until 7 comes out, which once again we will be tackling it when it comes out.
Absolutely.
But we are going to get into the Terminator franchise, one of the biggest sci-fi franchises of all time, which we just had the last movie last year, Terminator: Dark Fate, which a lot of people felt like may be the nail in the coffin of the franchise.
Oh man!
Because it did very poorly. And we'll get to that when we get there.
I don't know. So I'm going to be completely upfront. I am someone who's very familiar with some franchises, but have never really sat down and watched them. This is one of them. I don't know if you could actually put a nail in the coffin of a franchise as great as Terminator. Or as well known, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a little more to it that I'll get when we get there. I'll explain it because
we're not there yet.
Yeah, because you have to look at that from the audience side and the studio side, because there's both sides are kind of looking at things a little differently. But anywho, yeah, that's it for this episode. Is the end of the franchise, the Tremors franchise for now. Guys, if you enjoy this, please follow us on Facebook. We got Twitter. We got an Instagram. If you're listening to us on Libsyn, our Libsyn page, we got links to Spotify if you prefer Spotify, or if you prefer Stitcher or Apple Podcasts. And, of course, we are on YouTube, so go check us out. Follow, like, and subscribe wherever you like to listen to us. And if you'd like to help out the show, we have Patreon, patreon.com/POVincent. If you can help out, great. If you can't help out financially, we totally get it. 2020 is a bitch of a year.
Yeah.
If you could, but seriously, the following or subscribing or whatever, or whichever platform you're on, that just helps us out a ton. Jess, any parting words before we say goodbye to these carnivorous?
No, just thank you for seeing us through the Tremors franchise. It's been a wild and crazy ride, and I'm ready for the next one.
It has indeed. Take it easy, everybody. We'll see you
Bye,
next
guys.
time.